Hello students. So today we're going to continue with factoring, okay? But before I start, I want to give you like a little trick that we can use sometimes to help us find the factors a little bit easier and faster. What do you think? Sounds exciting, right? Yes, because that means that we might do less work than what is needed. So the problem that is given to us says 8x squared plus 14x minus 4. So if you look at my label on the left, it says common factor. So the approach that I want to take on this question is there any factor that my trinomial shares? So I want you to consider that, and let's see if you remember what a common factor means. So in my common factor, I gotta think about a number that when multiplied by another number gives me those coefficients. For example, 2 times 4 gives me 8. 2 times 7 gives me 14. And 2 times 2 gives me 4, right? So I'm just gonna write down minus and then of course the 2. So now I'm gonna use that trinomial to find my A, B, and C. So let's write down the standard form right below the problem. Now notice how here, now I can find and use A, B, and C. Same process that we've been doing, okay? So my A, it is a 4, my B is a 7, and my C is a negative 2. Excellent. Next, we're gonna draw a table and the X, right? So let me give you a couple of seconds for you guys to do that. Okay, so I still need to find the product of A and C, right? So I'm gonna write it down here, and that will be 4 times negative 2. I do get a negative 8. Opposite of that, we still need the B, which is a 7. Same process. I haven't changed that, guys, okay? On the lower, I still need to write the coefficient for A, which is a 4. Now let's move to the table. So we still need to do the same process. I still need to find the product for my negative 8, and I still need to find the sum for my positive 7. So let's write down the word product, just to remind you that this is multiplication. And let me write down sum to remind you that I'm adding, right? So let's start with my first ones, right? So I'm always going to start with a 1. Now just remember, if my answer that I'm looking for is a negative number, I know then that one of the factors needs to be negative. So let me start with negative 1 times 8, and yes, I get a negative 8. We're going to use the same factors, but now 8 is my negative number because I'll still get a negative 8. How about 2? That's an easy one, right? But this will be negative 2, remember? Negative 2 times 4 gives me a negative 8. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but now the 4 is the one that is a negative number. So if you think of the next number, will be 3, right? But 3 times nothing, not whole number, multiplied by 3 gives me 8. So the next will be 4, which is already there. So I'm done with the factors, right? Let's move on to the sum. So now I need to add negative 1 plus 8, and I get a positive, what? 7. And I hope that you say the following word, right? What do we say? Bingo! You're right. That's exactly what I was looking for. I wanted a negative 8, which is right here. But I also wanted a positive 7, which is right there. So that tells me those are my two factors that I can use. So I'm going to write down one of them on the left, and the second one goes on the right. Okay, so those are my two factors. Now the question is, can I simplify any of that? Okay, so let's see if you remember this. This means what number can divide both of them. So I can use divide by 4, divide by 4, right? 8 divided by 4, what do I get? 2. And 4 divided by 4, what do I get? A 1. And if you remember now, these are the ones who carries the x. So let's highlight my answers. Notice how I am not going to highlight the left. I'm going to highlight the right because that's actually my factors. Okay? So let's write down my factors here on the bottom. So the first one will be 4x minus 1. Second factor will be 1x plus 2. And I know what you're thinking. Miss, rewrite it, please. Because the 1 is not needed, so we can rewrite it. So that will be my 2 factors. Very good. So now I want you to go back to the left side, and I know that you're thinking there might not be enough space, but let's give it a try. I don't know if you noticed, but it looks like I found the factors faster than some of the other questions that I did earlier, right? Well, again, the reason for that is because I did the common factor before. Now, is that going to be possible to do all the time? Not all the time, right? But when you can find a common factor, do it, because it might minimize the time that you can invest on finding the factors. So I still want you to do the box. So I'm going to write down my box on the left side. So let me give you a couple of seconds for you guys to draw the box. So let's remember that the box is to help me, right? Double check that I got the right factors. So let's write the factors on the length. So I'm going to start with 4x, which is my first term, and then negative 1 is my second term. On the left side, I will write down x and 2. Okay, so let's multiply. 4x times x gives me 4x squared. X times negative 1 gives me what? Negative 1x. 4x times 2 gives me 8x. And 2 times negative 1 gives me negative 2, right? So now the next step is to rewrite all the terms that are inside the boxes. So let's write them down. The first one is 4x squared minus 1x plus 8x minus 2, right? So I got 4x squared minus 1x plus 4x minus 2. So can I combine anything? Do I have any like terms? Yes, I do. I have that and this one. They both carry the variable x, right? So I can combine them. So the 4x squared, I'm just going to bring it down the way it is. And a negative 1 plus a positive 8 gives me a positive 7 and minus 2. So check count. My final answer is exactly what's inside the parentheses right underneath where it says common factor, right? So that tells me that I got the right factors.